Lads, lasses, and the rest of the mass.
Okay, we are here. Yeah, sorry about the small delay. I was just waiting for the fourth round draw. They they said it was going to start at quarter past, and then it didn't start until about 25 past. So, yeah, a bit delayed. But yes, Chelsea have drawn a home tie against Blackburn, which is very, very good for us. Um, and a lot of the big teams have drawn each other. So Bournemouth and Liverpool have drawn each other. Newcastle has drawn United, which is good. So a lot of the big teams are going to get knocked out. Um, I was terrified when I saw Bournemouth get drawn that we were going to get drawn against them again. We'd have to play those guys again. But yeah, I'll just um I'll just wait for a little bit longer to see if we get some a few more people in. Then I'll start. Got some positive things to say this time, and we actually won a game. We scored a goal and won a game. Could you believe it? Now I'll need to get my notes up as well. All right. Oh, we actually won a game. Right, I'm gonna hit the intro. Let's go.
Lads, lasses, and the rest of the masses, welcome back to the channel. I'm Mono from Mono TFC, and this is GBU Live.
There we go. Okay. Sometimes that still doesn't work properly, and I don't know why, but we'll fix it at some point. Yeah, so I'm just looking at the chat. Yeah, Ben Chilwell has apparently got a hamstring injury. We don't know the extent of it yet, but obviously they'll have to do some assessment on that. But welcome to GBU Live. As always, I'm going to go through from left to right, show the good things, the bad things, which is admittedly not even that bad most of the time, it's just medium things, and then the ugly things. I've got quite a few things to talk about, but obviously as it's quite late, I don't want to be rambling on too long. So I'll get my main points across. Obviously, I'm not going to address every player that played well, because I think there was a lot of players that played well, but I'm just going to highlight the ones which kind of stood out to me. First up, let's start with the goods. As always, I'll go over to the uglies, and then we'll go back to the goods and finish on that. So the first thing I'm going to be putting in here, I think it's just pretty obvious. It's going to be Nicholas Jackson. Finally getting a goal, and really getting some confidence from that goal too. We saw that after he got that goal, he instantly started playing better. That's just, as I said, getting goals for him is just massive for his confidence, obviously, especially with him going to be suspended for the next game. Getting that kind of like confidence into him before he takes a break is very good, because obviously if he takes a break and then comes back and he doesn't start firing again, then it's going to be a bit like, and he could have a bad season. But I think that this could be a turning point for him. There's a really good goal he scored, and he could have had another one if it wasn't wrongly given for offside, but I'll talk about that one later. Should I go? Yeah, you know what? I'm going to go straight into another good. The next player I'm going to be putting in, if I can find him on my list. Where is he? Where is he? Wait. Do I not? Wait, I don't have him on my list. Wait, I swear I got him here somewhere. Hang on, wait 1 second. Let me just go to my, intro screen for a second here. 1 sec. Why is he not in this document? Hang on. Poor from me. Very poor from me. I apologise. Where is the man? I think you guys probably all know who I'm talking about when I say this. Right, he'll be... Oh my goodness. He'll be on the screen at some point. I'm gonna have to adjust my window and everything. There we go. Alright, we're back. Cole Palmer. There we go. Oh god. I don't know why he's not on the... I have... Basically, you can't see this because it's off the side of the screen, but I have like a list of like all the players and all the player icons and stuff on the side. For some reason, I haven't put Palmer's in here. Everyone else is there but Palmer, so I must have just missed him. But yeah, Palmer was very, very good in this game. Had an absolutely beautiful assist for Jackson, great interplay all game, and he could have had another assist as well, but again, Jackson's goal was ruled for offside. We'll talk about that in a little bit. His link-up play with Maatsen in particular, who I'm not going to mention in this box, but obviously Maatsen played very well as well. He's one of the players that I felt played well, but it didn't do as much to kind of be highlighted. Yeah, his link up with Maatsen on the right was very good, and it's kind of what we've kind of been saying, isn't it? When we play better when a 10 is actually playing in the 10 role. Who would have thought, huh? I made him the center of attention in my thumbnail for the preview because I thought that this was going to be a big game for him. I didn't really kind of touch on it in the actual preview itself, but I thought that Palmer was going to play a big part in this game, and I was proved right. A lot of the things which I actually said in my preview was kind of spot on, which is kind of crazy because I usually get things horrifically wrong. But yeah, he stepped up to become the main man tonight, and I think genuinely he was the player of the match. There is another candidate that could have possibly been player of the match who I'll talk about later, but before we get onto that, let's quickly go into the medium box. I'm going to call it the bad box because that's what it is, but it's the medium box, and the player that's going to go in here first is Robert Sanchez, because I don't think he was entirely awful. Also, my whiteboard is acting up. Love that. I don't think he was entirely awful. His distribution, on the other hand, was woeful. And I know this is partly because Brighton's press is so good, and they're so good at putting pretty much every single player on that's in the outfield positions under pressure, so they can't receive the ball. So he had to just keep blasting it long, and no one was kind of getting on it. But the reason why I have put him in the bad and not in the ugly was because he did come up with a couple, maybe I think 2 exactly, so I will say a couple, it could have been a few more. He came up with a couple crucial saves. Obviously, in a game which is tight like this, 1-0, any goal completely derails us and we lose this game. So, gotta give him a little bit of credit for that, but his distribution was absolutely awful, so less said about that the better. The next thing I'm going to be putting into the bad box, and again, this is another kind of half and half thing. I don't think he was awful, but there was a few things which he kind of did wrong, and that's going to be Leslie Ugochukwu. I think overall he had a pretty good game, but some of the tackles he was doing were very, very suspect, and he definitely should have been sent off. Luckily for us, there wasn't VAR. Obviously, that was a double-edged sword because we could have had another goal, but if VAR was actually in effect, I don't think we would have even got the opportunity to get that goal that was disallowed, because Leslie would have been taken off because his tackle in the first half was awful. That's the only reason I put him in the bad. The rest of the game, he was pretty good, but yeah, a little bit inexperience on his part. Obviously, he is only 19, so can't put that much pressure on his shoulders. Obviously, he played the full 90 as well, I believe, and he didn't really look that out of place. Obviously, playing next to Caicedo is a very big benefit for him, and you can learn from him very well. Let's move on to the uglies, and I've only got one thing to be in the ugly box, and it's going to be for the refereeing. I think everyone kind of saw this coming as soon as I said there's one thing for the ugly box it's going to be for the refereeing, because it was woeful. I say this every single time I do a review on any of our games. I don't like talking about the referees, but they're so bad every single week that I can't not talk about them. Obviously, we had Jackson's goal, which was disallowed for offside. Beautiful flick around the corner from Palmer, which he should have had a second assist, and Jackson should have had a second goal. They ruled it off for offside. It was nowhere near offside. Obviously, with no VAR, they can't check that. They called Broja offside from inside his own half, which is literally impossible. You can't be offside from your own half, so I don't know what happened there. Obviously, this wasn't just against Chelsea, this was overall in the game, because again, Leslie should have been taken off. He should have seen red for that challenge, it was awful. And then just the constant stopping of counterattacks for both sides and not giving cards for them. We had about 4 counterattacks stopped because the referee just decided to blow up and call a foul rather than playing advantage, which he should have been doing. Obviously, the referees in the Cup are always going to be worse than the actual league, and the league aren't that too good anyway, so we kind of expect this at this point. But yeah, it's just like so many chances. And also there was that was the other thing which I can, off the top of my head, that I can remember, is that foul from Gilmore on Chilwell, which definitely should have been a yellow and wasn't a yellow, and they didn't even give it as a foul. But there were so many bad decisions in this from the referees. We were very lucky. I said we're very lucky that VAR wasn't in the game, because if it was, obviously Leslie would have been sent off, we would have gone down to 10 men, and we probably would have lost this game, so can't complain that much. But it's laughable at this point. The refereeing in England, in the domestic cups and in the league, is just terrible, and it's genuinely funny at this point. You just have to laugh. We'll go back into the good box and we'll finish this off with the positives. The next player I'm going to be putting in here, and I think you all kind of expected this, is Mark Cucurella with a resurgent performance from out of position at right back. He had a great defensive performance, I thought, and obviously he was helped in the first half and largely part of the second half with Matson, obviously being next to him and helping him out defensively too. But what he did is that he brought fight and he brought energy, which transferred to the rest of the team and our pressing too. And as I said, all while doing this out of position at right back, doing an inverse Azpilicueta, if you like. And I think that's part of the reason why we got back into this game in the second half, was because he was so up for it. And I think having the Brighton fans on his back the whole game kind of motivated him to do better. We always see this from Cucurella. He always has that fight and that fire to kind of like press and get the ball back, and he kind of runs around like a headless chicken at times, a little bit like Conor Gallagher. But in this game, he was a bit more controlled with it. It wasn't just frenzy, it was controlled chaos, if you will. And obviously, it's weird because the right back spot kind of actually plays into his hands, because he's very good at playing passes from a kind of inverted position. So he kept having to cut onto his left foot and then play it inside rather than playing it around, and that actually kind of benefited us. Obviously, we saw in pre-season, Cucurella got a wonderful assist for Jackson I think it was in the Brighton game, actually. It might have been the Newcastle game, I can't remember, but there was one moment where Cucurella plays a beautiful ball straight through the centre in pre-season, Jackson gets on the end of it, and we score from that. And it's those positions where Cucurella does really well, and I think he had, if not Palmer, I think he had the player of the match performance, because he basically lifted our entire team. I'd love to see him get another chance, and to be honest, with Gusto now out, why not throw him in against Fulham? I don't see why not. We could just throw him in at right back again and play the same system, because we actually kind of, and I've talked about this in my preview, we kind of play better when our team is lopsided to the left-hand side rather than the right, because our most deadly players all play on the left-hand side, and our most attacking threat players play on the left-hand side, whereas on the right we have Gusto, whose final ball isn't that great, Sterling, who's a bit kind of iffy at times and doesn't have the greatest final ball and never really gets his head up, but obviously we get Mudryk, who's always direct and always linking up. We get Chilwell, who, despite his defensive deficiencies, is very good in attack and does get into good positions at times. And obviously we have Levi Colwill on that left-hand side, who can spray the long balls. So Cucurella playing at the right-back spot for next game, I would not actually be opposed to. I think he kind of earned his place. The last player I'm going to be putting into the good box, and the last player for this entire video, is going to be Moises Caicedo, who had an absolute belter of a game. He looks like the £115 million player that we bought. He created the most chances for us. That's a fun fact. He actually created the most big chances for our team, and he was constantly winning the ball back. He didn't make a single foul. There's a long list of stats that he was doing. He was absolutely everywhere. And as I said, I think he's finally got into a stride. I think he wasn't really fully up to the game when we threw him in a couple of games ago, and he obviously conceded that penalty, and he wasn't looking sharp. But now he looks sharp. And if we can get him playing like regularly with Enzo in the pivot or Leslie in the pivot, I feel like we've got a bit of a more solid base now than we had before. Obviously, I said in my preview, our defense has actually been pretty good. This is another clean sheet for Sanchez and another goal not conceded, by the way. We have one of the better defenses. We just can't score. So if we kind of play pragmatically and we have that core, then eventually, once we start scoring, we'll actually be quite good off. But Moises Caicedo was wonderful in this game. Obviously, we move on next time out in the 4th round. We have a home tie against Blackburn. If you weren't here for the start, I mentioned that. We have a home tie against Blackburn next, and that's our next game in the cup to look out for. But I think our next game is the game against Fulham in the league. I don't know when the preview for that will be out, probably the day before. I don't actually know what day it's on. It's probably on Saturday or Sunday, one of those. It'll be out the day before or the morning of. So yeah, that will be when the preview is out. Obviously, the tactical breakdown for this game, I'm not sure if that's a thing that will come out. I might do another kind of rambly thing with a few tactical points, because I don't know if I'm going to have enough time depending on when that next game against Fulham is. But yeah, hopefully I will see all of you guys in the comments in that video. And for me now, this will be me signing out. So I'll talk to you guys later. I'm going to hit the outro. Cheers for tuning in.
But that was just my GBU match review for this week. Thank you ever so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts on this match in the comment section below, and if you'd be so kind, subscribe to the channel and leave the video a like if you enjoyed. Don't forget to tap the notification bell so you never miss a video from me, or check out some of the other videos on the channel on screen right now. I've been Mono from Mono CFC, and remember, in the rain or in the dry, keep that blue flag flying high. Come on, you Blues.